Test, 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 test. How about a test? Coming soon. This is live YouTube, and it's got the chat feature over here. And there's, right there, see the delay? There's about 12, 15-second delay. Now then, why? This is our 4-pit mic, and it's going out over the live broadcast, coming over these speakers. So it would be doing this. Yeah, this is the online, and this is the auditorium. So it would be holding both, and and nodding at Dave when you want the next slide, I guess, because he'll have the remote because you don't have three hands. Yeah.
That's good so people can see this and see us talk. But the comments thing probably won't work out with the delay, because you have to wait 8 seconds in between each thing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, but that means that the computer and everything is picking up the audio, but it's not coming out over the speakers. But that's a setting that we'll, about Tuesday morning, we'll figure that out. Okay, this would be the way that it would work. There's no bleed over, there's no feedback. You would just have to have auditorium microphone and online microphone on the same mouth.
At least this one has a holder, but
Yeah, you could do one in the holder. Yes, let's get it. It's made for this one. Okay, and just remember that this one is for, yeah, and this one's for the auditorium. But you could do this one with the remote in hand.
yeah.
But the people here, we had to finish 20 slides.
Oh, yeah, that's so much better, so much better.
This is on now. You push that button until it lights up.
Test 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1 test. So no feedback through our guy here. And we can measure the delay if you'd like, but right now I'm hearing me loud and clear through the karaoke box. All right, and then you've got it through the YouTube. This is maybe.
The only thing that people don't know is that they can, the people at home don't know that they could tune into YouTube.
Yeah, that would be another series.
If you're in the same room, he was sitting across town. My screen. sending a text now to Darlene, turn on the YouTube home. Give it a text.
And then the only thing that the people that already have been texted need to know is that if they're on the Zoom and on this, the 12-second delay.
Yeah, well, so here's what I'll tell you.
Okay.
Steve Forrest. Tom Kelly.
So I'm doing through, well, you got that, you got 1 through 15 is there. So that's, yeah, I'll do that. So, so 50,
And you can hear us talking.
and then
back
you
and
go
forth.
through 20 and I start again on 21, I think.
It's, yeah,
Okay.
then,
Because we're going to the,
Darlene can hear us good when we're in front of this mic.
okay,
So she's at home. Okay, thank you, hon.
so, and then I guess what I was trying to make sure is I knew where we switched back after 20, it was 21 and I think it's 30,
you take the vote for the 20.
part 1, that's it. And then you pick up on this, 32 is the vote.
Well, if you fall that way, you're gonna land on the floor. So I fall this way, I keep turning that way.
What was it, text? And I think you just go on that text and do this right now.
Oh, I don't have the, Explain that's what we're going to be going to.
My favorite one is a cat whose name is Macchiato. You can get other versions of that, and the other ones are also coffee.
Anybody out there wondering, our corporation meeting will start soon. Darlene's not here, so she doesn't see my dessert plate for lunch. And the rest of you, we'll be back with you shortly.
And the ones at people's houses is normally third. Yeah, the one in Harrison. The one after that. The one after that was in our.
We're streaming, live streaming, YouTube channel. We got 2 microphones, one in the auditorium and one online. Why it's not coming over our speakers, I don't know. I'll figure it out by Tuesday.
Just a minute, I gotta pick this up. That's not fun. I couldn't do anything without. Do you put it? Do you put it? When do you guys need help?
Oh, we're good.
We're good, thank you, Robin.
Now that you're already done, now.
You wanna go first?
No.
Drive a little faster with it. We'll have to slow it down.
Hand that one? Grab that for you?
Talk me out of it.
What's that? We came in after communion. We grabbed some cups, so. He always says, he always says that.
Test number 2.
You want to use the chair? John, you can just give her a piggyback. What? You could have just given her a piggyback.
Hey, everybody, Jason taking roll call. Again.
For those of you on our YouTube channel, Lord willing, we'll start at 12:30. That's 10 minutes from now.
For the folks watching from home, if you're on live stream, would you please put the fact that you are on live stream on the comments section? And Carissa's, where you cannot see if you're on live stream, Carissa's in the back of the room, and she'll record your presence on the live stream. I'm referring to the YouTube live stream. I know there's several of you on because you texted us that you were. And also there is are you muted right now or not? Okay. And also, if you're on the conference call number, just stay there. We will have a roll call in just a few moments. So we don't need anything from you if you're just listening and you have a copy of the slides in front of you. But if you're on the live stream, please let Carissa know. There is a 12-second delay between what I'm saying and what you hear on the live stream. So we will need to relay your questions to Dave and I, because we'll probably be a half a slide or one slide ahead of you by the time you type your question to us. So thanks very much. I see Bob back there. Thanks for coming in. There's a number of you that have just come in the room. You missed the potluck and the worship service, but thank you for making the effort to be here. Really appreciate it. And we will start in about 5 minutes.
Let's move for a second.
Joe Costello's here. Okay. Is here. Oh, Dave is online. Bubba's here. Not even on the second page here. What's that saying, me? I know he's online, but I'm going to wait. Let's see, what number am I at? 11? Don't know where he is. There's 13. I know he's online, but we'll wait on that. I know he's online. 14, 15. I know they're on 16, 17.
That can be
was 17, was that the last number? We're already at 18? 16, 17, that's 18. 19, 20. Well, we know that. Say again. Okay. Okay. We've got these as present. We need to give this for the meeting minutes. And then we need to somehow record who's online. I think we're busy up here. We should have Carissa know who's online and keep track. Okay, so let me go tell her that now. Yeah, okay.
Anybody monitoring this call?
Yes, yes. He's addressing the crowd in the auditorium right now. We'll start the meeting. You'll be able to hear as good as you can hear me. Just be a couple minutes.
Go ahead and start a roll call. Do we know who's on YouTube stream?
We know several of you are either on the Zoom call or on YouTube, and so Carissa just needs to know who is there, and if you can unmute yourself for just a second and let. Yes, the person who's that first? Oh, not online. Dave Gary. All that favor. Bob Neiman. Dallas Durham. So if you've already told me who's you're here, please go on mute. there's a buzzing noise coming over the line here. There we go. So is that everybody? Did I get everybody that's on Zoom and YouTube? Okay, all right. Okay. Yeah, I think that's good. It might be yours, Dave, is making that noise on this end. All right. Well, thank you everyone for being here for this meeting today. We really appreciate it, and as the name says, we do once a year. It's the annual congregational corporate meeting, and so let's see the clicker. I think I'm missing it. One moment.
Stand by one, we're just,
We found it in between the couch cushions. So here's an outline of what's going to happen today, the corporate meeting and then the congregational meeting. You'll see this slide several times as we move through. We have this slide, a little explanation, but we wanted to just acknowledge during the meeting that we do have people in person and online via Zoom and YouTube. And so those are all connected, everyone that's going to. We always like to start our meetings with a prayer, and we'll do that now. Let's pray. Dear Lord, we thank you for the blessings that you bring us every day. We thank you for this opportunity to come together and talk about the coming year, how we will endeavor to use the funds that you have provided to us, and acknowledge that your bountiful blessings that you bestow. Father, we pray that you be with us here this afternoon, that as we seek to do your will, Father, we pray that the things we plan and the things that we laid out are pleasing to you. Father, we ask that you would be with us as we try to logically and in an orderly manner explain to the congregation and what these plans are. Father, we thank you once again for your goodness to us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. The first item that we talk about is the quorum of voters. And so the people that vote in the corporate meeting are designated in the bylaws that the congregation has. But first of all, the corporate meeting is the corporation that the congregation has been in existence since 1947. And so that's put in place that we have an organization that interacts with the state of Colorado regarding nonprofit status, and this meeting is required as a requirement of the state that we do at least once a year under the Colorado laws and our bylaws. The voting criteria for those that are voting in the corporate meeting as put forth in the bylaws and designated by the elders are Christian men 18 years of age or older, a member, at least someone who's a member at least 1 year in good standing, and then determined to be faithful in attendance. Today, there's a total of 37 eligible members, and out of that number, 11 are over the age of 72. Anyone over the age of 72, while their vote is taken and counted, their number isn't present their number isn't required to have a quorum in order for us to make a decision in the meeting. So, and then what that means is when we look at our numbers, we have the quorum is 17 men. We need to make sure that we have at least that many so that we can conduct our business. And the answer is yes. With those that are present and those that are online, we have more than that, more than 17. What we're going to be deciding today, the decisions that are broken out in the bylaws, there's routine issues, significant issues, and fundamental issues. Today, everything will be routine and significant issues. Anything over $400,000 is considered a fundamental issue, and what that changes is how many yes votes, or what is the kind of majority that's required to make that decision. Today we're going to have 3 votes, and we have the election to the board of directors, and then the annual budget. And then we have another vote about additional expenditures from the reserve fund. We'll discuss all these things as we move forward. On to the board of directors. The board of directors is a body that's been in place for many years, and the board does not function as an eldership, but they are there to make sure certain things happen in the event that we do not have an eldership in place. This is a routine issue, and once a year we vote for, usually it's just one board of director member. Here is the list of current board of directors, and Les Jones's time in that position is up. The term is up. He has agreed to serve another term in that capacity, and you can see the other ones: Les Jones, Joe Church, Don Nemeth, Mark McClure, Brett McGuire. In that order are the ones who will come up next year in the years following it for redesignation. Since Les has agreed and the elders have asked him to continue, we would like to nominate Les Jones as for another term. And his term would last until 2028. Is there any discussion on this matter? And online, I'll wait just a minute, just to give you a chance to say. Okay. The elders have made a motion. Is there a second on that motion? Bill Ball? Bill Ball seconds. And we'll have the vote. All in favor, please raise your hand. And then while we're doing this, while we're looking at those in the auditorium, we'll just hang on a minute, and we'll get those votes that are online and on the phone.
Zeman, aye.
If anyone else online wants to unmute and vote, you can do that now.
Dave Gallagher, yes. Dallas Durham, yes.
Say that again? Jim Hammond.
Zeman, yes.
Okay. Okay, that's good. Everyone can put their hands down, and we appreciate. And the next one would be to find out if there's any opposition, any opposed. Please raise your hand or say so online. Seeing none and hearing none, that motion passes.
Now moving on to the next slide. If you're online, you should be on slide number 17. That's where I'll commence our talk about 2023. There's kind of two sections to the budget, the past and the future. And this is the past, although we're still in 2023. We're going to talk about this year, 2023, and then talk about 2024 when Dave cuts back up to talk about the proposed budget for next year. I understand we're having this meeting somewhat earlier in the year than we used to. We used to have it in December where we had more accurate numbers for what had happened in the current year. The elders moved the conference that we're having today to an earlier date, such as today, October 29th, because it never snows in October in Colorado. So please admire our great wisdom and planning in picking this day, right? So let's move on to 2023, and this is going to be, a lot of what you're going to see is based on 42 weeks, which is pretty close to the end of the year, 42 weeks of giving. Our budget, 2023 budget, the one that we approved last year, was $310,852. It looks as though our offerings will come in at the end of the year at $293,779. That's somewhat of a pessimistic number because typically, at the end of December, we get folks that want to take advantage of a tax benefit of charitable contribution, and so we'll see kind of some big bump ups in December. But nevertheless, $293,779 is our projected number. We have been giving at a rate of $55.43 per week. $55.43 per week. The reason that's significant is please look at the notes. In 2022, our average offering was $51.07. We have increased that $436 a week to $55.43, as you see up there. Last year, we stood up here and said, wow, we did great, 84.97% of our giving goal. This year, we're at 94.7% of our giving goal. So nearly reached what we wanted to reach, and we're really thankful to you and to the Lord for just, having an increasing attendance, increasing giving, Our job, Dave and I, is so much easier when the numbers match or almost match, and that's what's happened this past year. I think I've covered each of those notes. I'm looking just to make sure that I made the points on this slide that I wish to make. Are there any questions on this slide? For you on the YouTube broadcast, you're 12 seconds behind us, so we're still here, 12 seconds ahead of you in life, but please put your questions in the remarks, and Carissa will transfer those or relay those to Dave and I as we go through. All right, a lot of numbers we're going to throw at you. Dave and I know these well. We've been seeing them in our sleep. But for you, we're going to be bombarding you with quite a few numbers. That's, in fact, the reason you have a paper copy in front of you, too, so you can go back and forward and look at these numbers. And online, folks online, you can look at these numbers as well by going back and forth. Our numbers budgeted on the left. Now, we're talking about expenses now, not offerings. Budgeted on the left, actual on the right. You can see that we're projected to come in at 302,637. That is about $8,000 less than we budgeted. In other words, that's real good news. However, there's something we need to talk about, and that's note number one there. Major maintenance came in at $32,812. We're going to talk on the next slide about what that major maintenance was. Remember, too, that we approved last year, we agreed that because of our reserve fund, and that reserve fund was sitting around $2 million, that we should take our missions, evangelism, benevolence budget, double it, it's $20,000, double it, $40,000, and we should give $40,000 out of our reserve to evangelism, to benevolence, and to missions. And at the end of this presentation, we have some really great news on what that $40,000 did. Just astounding. It's just wonderful. However, let's talk about that major maintenance item. And this is going to pertain to a discussion we have in a few slides about why are we keeping such a large reserve fund? Why do we have nearly $2 million in our reserve fund? Well, major maintenance is one of the reasons, and we're going to get into some more details on that in a moment. We had our annual congregational meeting last October 30th. October 30th, today's the 29th, but last year the Sunday landed on October 30th. Almost the day after that meeting, we began to have issues with the building. Not one of these issues happened all at the same time, and all of the issues were pretty much addressable within the $10,000 authority that Dave and I have to address these issues. But the baptistry changing rooms were black with mold. And what had happened was our exhaust fan had failed. We had inadvertently left the temperature of the baptistry at hot tub temperature, and mold resulted. And we went in there. I believe Kelly Ballard took a hack at it. Robin Jones took a swing at it, and it was just untenable. We really needed to really gut the room to get all that mold out of there. And along came Elwin Gardner. And Elwin put a mask on and got some kind of, we won't talk about what kind of chemical he used, but he stripped those walls of every bit of that mold. He made those rooms squeaky clean. He then painted them with Kills paint. We repaired, Dustin Venn and Jim put in a new fan with the humidistat. Mark McClurg brought in a cover for the baptistry water, and so we've resolved that mold problem. All right, so that was really good news, and that's some of the fine print there on that slide. You notice there's a lot. Elwin also noticed our sump pump was inoperative in the engineering room downstairs where the heater is. He did a masterful job repairing that. But at the same time, we did have to call a plumber for this. We had to replace the pump for the baptistry. It was plastic. We needed it to be metal, brass. We brought all the plumbing up to code, new heater, water heater, and so we've got some really wonderful plumbing and work down there done. And that's the second line there that you see. We also replaced the sprinkler heads in the basement. Those are the fire suppression system. They were 50 years old. Nope, not one had failed, but Western Fire, I think it was, came in and said, we can save those, return those, or change those rather, for a reasonable fee. And they did. I think it was $1,200 or $1,400. And that seemed money well spent, that we don't have a failure on these 52-year-old or 50-year-old sprinkler heads. But then something else came along. The fire department came by, took a look at our fire suppression system. We're talking a 4-inch large pipe, high-pressure pipe, 60 PSI and 4 inches in diameter. And they said, you don't have a backflow on this. We have to have a backflow. What a backflow does is it's sort of a one-way valve. And if they came out, the fire department did, hooked up all their hoses to a fire hydrant and then began to spray down one of the local homes, what happens is it creates such a suction they can actually come into all the buildings and all the homes and buildings like ours and start to pull water and then air out of our system, and their water pressure goes down while they're fighting a fire. So it's reasonable they want an anti-siphon valve on our fire suppression system. However, we finally got a company even to agree to do it, and it was $14,000. They came out, they found out we have 2 sources of water into this building. They found one, they still can't find the other. It's up to the city to go find where that valve is. But they did replace one of the suppression systems or the backflow anti-siphon valve, and that was $8,000. We still have another one to do next year whenever the city finds that valve, and then Cintas, that company, Cintas, C-I-N-T-A-S, could do their work and put the other anti-siphon valve in. If you want to go down to the engineering and look at the room and look at this thing, it's a beast, this anti-siphon valve. It's a monstrous thing, yay long and about 6 inches in diameter with wheels and levers and all kinds of things on it. So anyway, that's kind of the saga of the fire suppression system. The front exterior entrance, we needed to pour new concrete out there. 2 large slabs were heaving. In other words, they were separating from each other. And then we also had that trip hazard right in front of the door. They're coming back tomorrow to do some more sanding and filing on it. And then on Thursday, they are going to put grit on it, paint it, and paint it an attractive color, put a grit on it, and also seal it. That's happening this coming week. And we thank Frank Montoya, who got his concrete guy to give us, his subcontractor, to give us a great discounted price on that. I think it was $4,300 for that. Security lighting, our building, the outside of our building was dark at night. A neighbor called and said, one of your parking lot lights is out. And what we found was that the neighbors want those lights on. For their security, they want them on. We had a company come out and just replace them all with LEDs. Far less power. Yes, it's dimmer out there than it was, and we're going to address that. But we also have security lighting all the way around the building now. Pretty much, Jim Fallis is doing great work there. We're going to repair another light or 2, cast a little more light out into the alleyway so you can find your way to the car. But that was just an absolutely necessary thing for us to do. At the same time, the gentleman that came replaced the ramp timer. And it didn't work this morning. We had a little issue with the thermostat, but we'll get that fixed. And so that's a better thing as well. The building southwest corner, I'm referring to right over here, right behind where Marcel is sitting. We had a leak there that got fixed. Frank came out at virtually no charge. Frank Montoya replaced all the out-of-code piping with metal piping, a new anti-siphon valve, that requires one as well, a backflow valve, and then also a cage to prevent theft. And that cage is just beautiful. It has a door, a padlock, so we can get in and service a sprinkler system, outside sprinkler system, even during whenever we need to blow the system out or start it in the spring. Thank you, Frank, for that one. And he also did some work to prevent that leak that we had going in there, reshape the landscaping. I think that's all on that list, but I put a couple down below there as well on some great things. Again, 50-year-old fans, or however old they are, went to Amazon. L1 figured out a way to make an old or a new motor work on an old housing. And so we now have an exhaust fan in the men's room, and one of the ladies' rooms, it was out. We replaced some toilets as well. We were getting complaints the toilets were broken. They weren't broken, they just took 4.5 minutes to fill. And so the new ones are low flow and take 47 seconds because Elwin and Jim and I timed it, right? And it was 47 seconds. So these are the kinds of biting, pressing issues we deal with every day around here. So that's where the overflow came from. It was not expected. But you know, what's next year going to be like? Well, Jim and Elwin and others have said, we have fixed everything. Nothing could possibly go wrong. And then we remembered the air conditioner system. Kevin is how old? We don't even remember where the air conditioners were put in or the heaters. So again, pertains to a discussion later on our reserve. Any questions on the phone or through the YouTube live stream? I'll just pause for a minute. I'll put up the next slide, but I'll give you an opportunity to ask those questions. Last year, we came to you and we said, in 2022, our average offering was $5,107. If we don't move off of $5,107, and you know we have, but if we hadn't moved off of that, and we looked at the projected expenses, Dave and I stood before you a year ago and said, we could be $40,181 short. And would you please give Dave and I permission to overrun the budget, if you will, $40,181. Because of your giving and because of God's providence over this congregation, that deficit was not $41,181. It's projected to be $8,858. And that's almost a worst case basis. So commend all of us again for giving and for the Lord taking care of our congregation as it has. $8,858. I'm not sure there's anything else I want to say on that slide. Note one there reminds us that our deficit in 2022 was $27,000. So all trends are upward, right? Our giving is up, our deficit, if you will, is down. Okay, so good news. All right. If there are no other questions, what Dave is going to do now is go through the 2024 budget. So that closes the book on 2023. Dave's now going to take over, go through 2024, what we're going to do in the next year. And if you have any questions, please ask them now, and then Dave will begin.
All right, so looking forward to 2024, you'll see this type of slide as we discuss this. But on the left, the 2023 budget is on the left. The 2024 proposed budget is on the right, and we'll go through each one of these areas individually. But if you look down at the bottom, you can see the numbers for the totals, which for the different areas adding up. Last year, we budgeted $310,852. For 2024, we proposed $307,902. And then that translates to the weekly amounts of $58.65 for 2023 and proposed $59.21 each week for 2024. And once again, you'll remember that this year in 2023 we had 53 weeks, and that extra week makes a big difference. So when we shrink it down to 52 weeks, that does impact the numbers quite a bit. On the for the staff, a big part of the budget and what we do that provides for the staff that we have that we're grateful for, and so in that there's a very modest wage increase in there, and all the things that are part of having employees, the FICA, the Medicare, the seminars, and so in the total, when you add those all up, You have in 2023, we had 220,686. And then in 2024, we proposed 222,994. The operations is the next category. And as you look at all the different items on that list there, building, security, the office, and the treasurer, the major improvements and building fund, and all those items. The building last year, in the comparison, $34,415 in 2023. 31,816 is proposed for major maintenance, which we don't know what those items could be, but we can sort of imagine what they might be. True, that's true. So what last year there was quite a bit of we didn't use all the money in utilities that we thought was going to happen, so that was reduced. And another thing that you might notice, the security is we're proposing to raise that a little bit. Another couple cameras would be great to know what's going on around the building when we're not here and even when we are. And then the office, just increase in office and having an office and those inflation really, and having a better handle on the actual expenses that we're experiencing. That's gone up from 6225 to we're proposing 7740. And then the major maintenance, we didn't have anything scheduled for that last year. We're wanting to put in $3,000 for that. And then the treasurer's category. So we had normally what the treasurer expense for is for an audit, and the fact is, when we reached out to several companies to see who could do this audit, what accountants are calling an audit now differs from when the bylaws were written, and in order to do an audit such that it would qualify meeting accounting standards, it's in the area between $10,000 and $15,000. So we're going to figure out a different way to handle that that's still going to comply with the bylaws. It's probably going to involve an internal review and by some people that we can select from the congregation. And then the building fund again is we're not actively trying to build up money we don't have a site, we don't have a building plan to purchase, and so we're going to leave that at zero, even though for several years prior we were building up that fund. And that's yes, that's right. So in the major improvements, the shed out in the back by the air conditioners, that's kind of fallen apart. It looks okay from the outside, but if you try to open the door, there's things preventing the door from opening very easily, and the floor is sinking in. And we do have some things in that shed, and we get some use out of it. So what else was we? Yeah.
When L1 put in the new windows, now it makes the rest of the building look better.
So the back of the building, or anywhere where we have paint instead of the brick, if you walked around, you'd see that needs some attention. So there's some money set aside for that in the budget, and especially, like as John mentioned, when you have when you have these new windows put in on, on the outside of our old building, there's some work that needs to be done to kind of tie that all together. The paint's gonna help a lot. The total there, once again, it's actually very close in the operations, was 44,320 in 2023, and then 44,336 in 2024. Exhortation. The exhortation includes the items that you see on this slide: encouragement, education, assistance, worship, youth, meetings, fellowship. The encouragement, when we looked at what we actually did last year, we thought we could reduce that just a little bit. We wanted to have something in there because there might be something that come along that we need to spend some money in that category, but we really just haven't. And sometimes that money gets, there are things being done. It's just that it's part of something else. The education, the materials and items that we need for the education program, those are expected to go up a little bit, and we're trying to make sure that we focus on getting what's needed for all the classes that we have here. And also the teacher appreciation, which is going to happen in 2024. Something for the teachers. We want to make sure that those that work so hard at providing the classes for the kids and the adults and all of us here are recognized in some way, and so there's something that's put aside for that also. And then the next line down, the assistance. The congregation does provide help to those in need, those inside our congregation, and that's what this category is for. There's also non-member assistance, which usually comes in the form of either gas cards or cards to fast food restaurants to help those that might come by the building where we're not comfortable with handing out cash, but also occasionally, depending on a case-by-case basis, we might help somebody with a train ticket or a bus ticket, and maybe a night in a hotel. That's more rare than the others, but for the most part, the assistance goes to help those in our congregation where things come up, and there's also some regular assistance that's provided as well. And the youth, that's going to go up about $100. You can see there from $1,600 to $1,700. The youth program's going real well. Lots of things going on with that every month, as you can see from the announcements and your participation in that, and going to continue doing that. And then in the meetings, there's WOW, there's the ladies' meetings that are in that. There's help with bringing people here to our congregation to speak, and so that's the meetings category, which is going from $2,100 to $2,700. And then the fellowship, you can see there last year was $8,500, and it's going down to $2,600, and that is based on our current experience with how much we're actually spending. We thought that the supplies and the food that we were having for right before the second gathering, that was going to be a lot more expensive. And what's happened is people have volunteered to bring those items in, and it just hasn't been as expensive as we thought. It looks like what we've been told is it's working out to be about $20 a week. And that's not the whole picture on fellowship, but there are other things that money goes towards. But you can see the results there. The last year, the total for this category was $25,010, and it's going to $19,765 in 2024 for the budget. I should probably stop, and I haven't asked if anybody had any questions about any of these things. So if going back a couple slides, or if on this slide, if there's any questions, you can certainly ask. Right, and so what John just mentioned is, in the assistance, that also has gone down. And the reason is because some of the funds that we've been regularly assisting people with, their situation has changed and they're not needing all of that, and they've informed us. But there's still money there for emergencies, and also we have other donations that are available to help with any unforeseen things that come up during the year. Right. So one of the things that we want to do in 2024 is have a way for those that have a hard time hearing with the normal our normal AV system. We want to provide for someone to have some headphones or some way to get a little bit better hearing during the worship service. And also, there's some new microphones that are on that are planned to make everything a little bit better when it comes to that. So we don't know exactly what that's going to be, but we've planned for a certain amount in that worship category. And you can tell, like as John said, it's going up from $570 in 2023 to $25.25 in 24. And evangelism. So I'm going to turn my page here because I want to make sure to see this. When you look at the evangelism category, you'll notice at the very bottom there's a total there. In 2023, we budgeted $20,836, and in 2024 we're proposing to budget $20,807, and that looks like that's a decrease, but that's not really what's happening there. Every mission work that we have, the Navajo, Philip James, and Manuelito Children's Home, Mountain States Children's Home, and Sekemi in Nigeria, those are all we proposed to give an increase to over last year. What's happened though is in WBS, last year we budgeted $2,000, and that's really when we're talking about money for WBS, that is postage. And so WBS has started a scanning program where a lot of that work is done with scanners and sending the documents back and forth electronically. So the postage has gone down. So there's our drop in $500 right there. Everything else has gone up, and when you look at this, there's 2.5% increase in all those items except for the WBS. What we're going to talk a little bit more in some later slides about what has been done in addition to the budgeted amounts that we see here, and what we plan to ask the congregation to do from our reserves, and that's on a later slide. But here's the evangelism outlook for 2024. Is there any questions about this?
Overall, our mission was 5.6% increase last year, 2.5% increase this year.
Right. So just kind of thinking back to our corporate meeting last year, we incorporated a 5.6% increase in the budget last year, which we're in this still during this year we're still distributing that to them as planned. And so in 2024, another, as I mentioned, 2.5%. So here's the summary again. You can see all when we look at all the different all the different areas. We have a total of 310,852 in 2023, and then 307,902 in 2024. And when we consider the number of weeks in the year, what we'd like is the $5,921 per week. That's what number we would see on that board, and so this is not it's not too far off from what we have been, what the congregation has been giving, but it is a little bit of an increase. We want to always encourage us to do a little more. And this is something that's I think within grasp, and when you look at each one of these different items, you can see how that 52 weeks and versus the 53 weeks affects it. To kind of take another look at this. The 2023 budget offering goal, in other words, what we asked the congregation to provide in 2023 was $310,852, and then for 2024, it's going down to $307,902. Thank you. Talking so long, the batteries wore out. But this is a decrease for 2024 of 2,950. So that's the overall I guess decrease in proposed budget amount. But when we go down to the next grouping there, that's the weekly amount. That's the weekly proposed existing and proposed offerings. And when we look at that, we're asking for an increase of $56 per week over the 52 weeks. And so that when you look at the offering weekly actual, which we had this year, as John said, $5,543. That's our projected actual giving for 2023. And compare that to our proposed offering goal, $5,921 per week. That amounts to an increase of $378 per week. And which is, if you remember back to, it was what we actually increased in 2023 was over $400 per week. So it's sort of a continuation of what's actually been happening here. Are there any questions about this? This is a slide that I think is can be illuminating, but also kind of confusing. So if anybody has any questions, please let me know. Our 2024 budget, we will we'll meet our offering goal of $307,902 if we're able to give at a rate of $5,921 per week, and we pray that we can meet that. But reflecting back to last year, the meeting this time last year, we did ask for, if we're not able to do that, and if that doesn't happen, we do have a reserve that's available. And so what we would ask is, you know, if that doesn't materialize, that we're able to take that, the money that's not provided out of, put that from the reserve. So, for instance, if our current giving continues at $55.43 per week, which is like we said, that's great. We could have a budget shortfall in 2024 of almost $20,000, $19,666. And some of that has to do with the number of weeks again, but we think that this would be the worst case that we would see. So we'll ask again that situation be allowed, given our reserve, and there's going to be a little bit more discussion about that on a coming slide, but given that reserve, that's what we would ask. So we propose that we strive through our giving to meet our 5921 weekly offering goal in 2024. So really, you know, the only way to do that is to consider an increase in our individual giving. So if you can see an example there, if someone's giving $50, someone increasing that to 55, and the other examples there, that would, something in that vein would definitely provide that amount. And should we experience the shortfall, that we would ask that you approve that transfer from the reserve. This slide, you can see a summary of where we really are with the reserve fund. So, you know, the first number that you'll be interested in is this time last year, October 30, 2022, the reserve fund plus the checking account was $2,254,074. And we, through our expenditures this year, the building improvements, the funds the additional funds that were given from the reserve to Manuelito Children's Home, to the mission work in Nigeria, and to a couple others that John will discuss in a little bit. Through that, the balance October 21st, 2023 is $2,015,031. And so as we've been spending that reserve, the reserve that's there has also been gaining interest. And so the 2023 withdrawals, as we talked about, the auditorium, foyer renovations that we're all enjoying, the major unplanned maintenance that John discussed, and then there was an offering expense shortfall this year that was authorized to be spent from the reserves, and then also the additional reserve funds that were designated and provided to our missions, evangelism, and benevolence. So when you take all that into account, the reserve earned $63,000 in 2023, and we know that because these funds are placed in the kinds of securities, T-bills, where you know in advance what you're going to get. So there's no guesswork in that number, and that's what we can see. The reserve funds, as I mentioned, are zero risk in that, and we also know that in 2024 we're expecting the interest rates to increase. So in December, when some of those securities come due, they'll be reinvested into instruments that are 2% or more higher than what they were coming out of. That means that we're looking at probably an increase in the reserves of $85,000 just because of that increase in interest rates. And so we have some things to propose to use that increase and to use that reserve that we'll discuss in a little bit. Yeah, is there any questions about this, about the reserve fund or what's happened last year or what we proposed this year? So this is the time when we have to make the decision. Do we have any additional discussion about the 2024 budget? Okay. Seeing and hearing none, do we have a motion to adopt the 2024 budget as proposed? John Rabb provides a motion, and then Bob Marshall seconds. So all in favor of approving the proposed 2024 budget, please raise your hand. Okay, what's that? Oh, and also, if you're online, please let us know your vote now.
Dave Gary, yes. Yes. Ed
Dallas.
Lawrence, yes.
Ed Lawrence, yes. Dallas Durham, yes.
Walt Nemeth, yes.
Don Nemeth, yes.
I didn't hear my name, I'm repeating my vote. Dave Gary, yes.
Dave Derryberry, yes. Got it. And Chris we're still putting together all the votes, so hang in there. Switch hands if you have to. Okay, we're good. And then any opposed to the budget, please raise your hand or indicate online. Seeing none, and Carissa, you haven't heard anybody have. Okay, so the motion passes unanimously. Now, John's going to talk a little bit about additional giving, benevolence, evangelism, and missions proposed in 2024.
Dave left for me the really kind of fun part of the presentation. I did want to go back for a moment and just a couple of points on that reserve. The reason it's going to earn so much money next year compared to this year is that Mark McClurg has set up something called the investment ladder, buying 6-month maturity T-bills, 1 year and 3 year, every 6 months. We have an instrument coming to maturity on December 31st for $375,000. That interest rate on that is going to be something, Mark, you can correct me if I'm wrong, something on the order of 3.2, 3.4%. It's going to increase to 5.2 or 5.3%. You hear on the news about the rising interest rates. Well, we're beneficiaries of that, I suppose, although it hits the U.S. taxpayer, but we're beneficiaries of that unheard of interest rates being offered on T-bills and CDs. In the past, I remember, Glenn, when you were treasurer, we were looking at $15,000 for a year, and this is $85,000. We are not trying to bank that money. That $85,000, we're going to eat away at that. First of all, we propose to you a $19,666 potential for shortfall. That's $20,000 of that 85. In a moment, we're going to propose $40,000 to benevolence, evangelism, and missions like we did last year. That's now $60,000 eating out of that $85,000. And there's always the heaters and the air conditioners and any other contingencies we don't see. Dave and I will carefully work that number down to something in the realm of 1.55 million, which we feel is a reasonable number, as sort of a permanent number. But that number will always allow us, through interest, to be helping a lot of missions, benevolence, and evangelism efforts out there. Mark had an expression, he was talking to him the other day, he said, if you have $1 and give $1 away, well, that's great, but now you have $0. What we're able to do is do something phenomenal, as you'll see on the upcoming slides, something great for our mission works every single year, and that's pretty exciting. Exciting stuff in our opinion. So please don't think that 85,000 is there just to grow and grow and grow. We're going to turn that around and use it for other purposes. Thanks for Dave for managing the 2 votes. And now we'd like to talk to you about another question, and this is going to be your agreement that we will, again, as we did this year, share our reserve funds with some efforts out there. Last year, we did $40,000. Actually going to ask your approval for that $40,000 before we get to the really neat part, what happened to the $40,000 in 2023. I need to turn and look at this slide. Again, I think that slide is self-explanatory. Where did the 5 years operating expenses come from? Right now, that is kind of the way businesses work. They oftentimes keep a reserve so that during low times, COVID, for example, they can stay in business. Certainly that number is negotiable, if you will, or it could change. However, there's a church down the street, I think it was a United Methodist Church, that just closed its doors. And you can only Google churches closing, and you will find a wealth of congregations closing, including the Lord's Church, because they don't have a reserve. They simply have no way to get through a tough time to get through to the other side. And so there will always be a need or a smart financial approach to have some form of reserve in our congregation, whether it's 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, whatever you think. But right now, we believe 1.55 is a reasonable number, and we'll spend it down over the coming years to that number, and then consider what we should do as far as from spending it down further or leaving it where it is. This past year, and again, this is the exciting part of the presentation in a few minutes, we really helped out Manuelito Children's Home just tremendously. We really got the Bagwell, Ramsey Bagwell School in Nigeria opened up on time. We were able to do some pretty exciting things, and those will be on an upcoming slide. But we'd like your approval to go ahead and again have another $40,000 for these purposes. I could have inserted what we did with the 2023 numbers here. and talked about that, but why don't we wait on that? And I'm going to ask in just a moment for a motion and then a second of the motion that we do use $40,000 of our reserve for the purposes of evangelism, missions, and benevolence. And Jim Follis has so motioned. And do we have a second? Okay, I have several seconds. John Rabb and Glenn Ramsey have both seconded that motion. And in just a moment, we're going to have a vote. And we're just waiting for those online to kind of catch up with us since they're 12 seconds behind us. 12,000. Thinking. Dave Derryberry, yes. All right, let's go ahead. If you're in favor of that, would you please raise your hand and leave them up? And online, we've got a yes from Dave Derryberry. Ed Lawrence, yes. Dallas Durham, yes. Don Nemeth, yes. And we're all holding our hands up here while Carissa does the counting. Also, Carissa right now is on the one phone listening to the conference call number. She is watching her computer to see the remarks coming in for those who are on the live stream, and she's counting those of us in the auditorium that are holding up their hands. So we commend Carissa for her dexterity here. Good, Carissa? Okay, we can put our hands down. And any opposed to using $40,000 out of the reserve fund for the purposes of missions, evangelism, and benevolence, please raise your hand or so indicate online. And we have no objections online, and so therefore I'll move to the next slide, and we're just about done for the day. This is the auditorium foyer renovation. Mark McClurg has 14 inches of snow at his house and was unable to get in. Mark, I may be able to hold the phone up to the microphones, or if you're on the audio call. If you're on the live stream, I don't think you'll have the ability to speak, and I will present your slides for you. And whoever just went off of mute, please go back on to mute. We're getting a tone when you, thank you very much. The tone is gone now. And I'll go ahead and present these slides. Take a look at the photo up there, and for you online, we're looking at the photo of the front of the auditorium. That was actually the artist's rendition before the renovation even began. And for those in the auditorium right now watching the live stream, compare that photo with what you see right here behind us, and you'll see that it turned out far nicer than actually the artist's rendition, didn't it? Beautiful baptistry. We had Nick Mears from Mountain States Children's Home here. They're collecting the food from the food drive, and he looked at that baptistry and just admired the beautiful nature of that. And so we thank you again for all those who put all that effort into the foyer renovation. This is really kind of old news now, and that's a good thing. We've just paid the very last bills to the best of our knowledge. We know how we stumbled into that $250,000, so to speak. Last year, you approved use of that for an auditorium renovation. Of course, it took longer than we expected, but we hear nothing but compliments about the renovation. We also hear compliments from visitors who visit us maybe once a year. They come in and go, wow, what you guys did with the building is just terrific. So we've had a lot of positive visitor comments. You see on the third bullet, the planned renovations all took place. All renovations, Bob Marshall can confess to this or agree with this, nothing ever goes as planned. But the fact they somehow got the front foyer rebuilt the way they did and built it to code, we had building engineers and inspectors in the building watching everything we were doing, was pretty amazing. I didn't think it could be done to tear down that old wall and then put in that beautiful foyer. But it all came together pretty well. And whether or not it was a wise use of funds, well, it's too late now because we're sitting in the renovated auditorium. These were the reasons why. And one point I made last year is when we visit other congregations and we go to their buildings and we see a building that looks like it's neglected, we believe that sends a message on their general attitude toward maybe even their faith. Why let your building become derelict? And so the security lighting, the parking lot, and all these improvements we've done is because although this isn't God's house, this is where we meet together to pray, to worship, and why not have a place that is pleasing and perhaps will even attract people to our congregation who might otherwise be perhaps turned off by an older building. So the post-renovation summary is on this slide, and you can read that as well as I can. Amazing that we really got things such as the electrical to get to be in compliance with the code, given the fact that we have, I think, John, 3 separate circuits in the building, and I see 3 separate sets of circuit breaker boxes or that kind of thing. So it's 5 or 6 breaker boxes. Well, there you go. So thank you, John, for that. So anyway, it's done. You won't hear about the renovation again. The bills are paid, and we'll move on to new items. Finally, what did we do with that $40,000 mission and evangelism? And this will be the end of our presentation today. At last year's meeting, you agreed to this, and this is what the elders have done so far this year with the funds. We went to visit Manuelito. We said, could you use $20,000? And he said, yeah, well, you know, our roof needs improvement, and we'll get to that in the next slide. We transferred $10,000 to Secami for the Ramsey Bagwell School. $5,900 have gone out for benevolence. And finally, we still have $4,100 remaining for the end of the year. We may look at something like In Search of the Lord's Way, another evangelism kind of effort. Apologetics Press has a matching fund going right now. Those kinds of efforts. We may look outward from Colorado Springs and look at something that's of an evangelistic nature, right? So that's $4,100 remaining. This is what we did with Manuelito. Went down there and said, could you use $20,000? Absolutely. He said, I need a new roof for the gym. He said, we could take it out of reserves, but we'd really not like to. One guy told us it would be around $40,000 to repair that gymnasium roof. And what happened was the actual cost came in at $31,500. I said, Jim Christian, do you really think you can get $20,000 matching funds? He said, easy. After a couple of weeks, $3,000 had come in, $4,000. And I asked Jim, what's going on? He said, elders meetings are occurring at these big congregations, Alabama, Tennessee, Texas. And he said, believe me, the funds will come in. And they flooded in after that. And he easily met our $20,000. And so he had about $45,000 at the end of the day. And you can see the list of what he did with those funds. You have the slides in front of you, but I'll show you some nice color pictures here. The upper right is the satellite view of Manuelito, the pre-work. We don't have a post-work satellite photo, but from their Facebook page, Chris has sent these photos. You can see the team of people on the roof retarring that roof. Unprecedented rain last fall. Just as we had an unprecedented spring rains, so did they. And what happened was the roof leaked. I'm on to the next slide now with the 3 pictures of the interior of the gymnasium. If you look at the word Manuelito and look under the A and the N in Manuelito, you'll see a black spot on the ceiling. That is mold, and there is a bow in that ceiling, a sag, and basically there's water on the other side of that from the unprecedented rains they had. The 2 other photos are post renovation. A new ceiling was put in, a repaired ceiling. It appears to have a bow, but it does not. Jim Christian took these pictures and he used a fisheye lens, so it gives it a curve, but you also notice the new lighting that they put in as well. So they really, really made the, refurbished and made that gymnasium nice. The kids eat their meals in there as well. They put a chain link fence around the basketball court, and they put in some LED lights with the extra money they had. Dave and I wondered why they needed the chain link fence, since when we shoot baskets, they always go in the basket and they don't go off. But, well, some people miss once in a while, so they don't have to go chasing the ball across the desert any longer. And you can see the LED lighting they put in. What we'll do next year, I don't know, but Manuelito's kind of an attractive group to go talk to. The Ramsey Bagwell School, Secami needed $8,500 to finish construction of the school. Look at those gentlemen out there in their coats and ties, 90 degrees and 90% humidity, but they're proud to wear a coat and tie in that hot weather. Wasn't that a beautiful school? And what the $8,500 did was, to a bare minimum, allowed them to outfit the school with desks and so on. They need some more. There's another photo here. That's the school bus on the right. He really needs a car that's better for bringing the children to school. School there is not considered something you're dragged to. It's considered a great right and a privilege to go to school. So even the county, the district they're in, will even come into the school, a Christian school, and fully endorse and approve of the existence of a Christian school. You can see that older gentleman there on the left writing on the board. They still need some desks. They need some additional equipment to outfit the school. The teachers are generously paid $15 a week, and that's what they're allowed to. That's what their salary is. There's a picture of Secami on the left with that older gentleman, I'm sorry, I don't know who that is, in their coats and ties out there in the Nigerian sun, but so proud of the Ramsey Bagwell School. The name Ramsey and Bagwell may be familiar to you. I think that's Glen and Redempta, and again, they still don't know why the school is named after them, and Barbara Bagwell, who's done so much work with the World Bible School program. And there's the happy kids in the school. Some of the funds were used for benevolence. Thank you to you. You contributed, remember there was meat and groceries. You also some gift certificates or gift cards to King Soopers. And that family was able to stay in the house another month. They got up to date on their back rent. They paid a future rent, and they were able to stay in that house another month until they could find more affordable accommodations. That was for a member. There was $2,700 for a critical home repair for one of our members who was in no position to pay that at all. And then again, as per an earlier slide, $4,100 is remaining of that $40,000. Any questions on this at all? Because we are about to finish up the day. Okay? No questions? Then I'm going to move to the last 2 slides. What slide number is this? Can you read that? We're on 52. So if you're online at home, we're on slide 52. Our members will write checks and otherwise designate funds for special contributions. You'll say, I would like this money to go to Manuelito, the Ramsey Bagwell School, Secami, and so on. And we obviously take those funds and send them directly to those that you asked us to send them to. $9,500 so far this year you have donated in special donations. Last year, the slide read 8,800, so we see a $700 increase this year. As you see on that second bullet down, special donations are not predictable. We don't know when they're going to come in. They have nothing to do with our annual budget. We simply pass the funds through as you request us to do. And the disbursements were to those entities there at the bottom of the slide. And we are going to take you to almost the last slide before we have a closing prayer. We have a special donation fund as well, where one of our members has for some years given us a sum of money, us being the elders, and asked us to manage it with absolutely no strings attached. In an earlier year, Dave and I kept getting these emails. Glenn, you were getting them too. Any of us involved with the WBS. Sekame needed a car. His car had broken down. It was a Toyota van with a broken frame, and it just was too expensive to fix. And we were able to take some money from those funds and finally move it over the finish line. We sent, I think, $7,500. Chad Wagner, who manages the Africa programs, found some additional funds, and Sekame has a proud owner of a 2007 Highlander, which interesting was came from New Jersey. Interesting enough. So a lot of the vehicles in these foreign countries are used cars from the United States and other countries. We've done some student scholarship matching, always Christian universities, but Oklahoma Christian and so on. We have sent folks or supported folks in preaching schools, both Mountain States and, not Mountain States, I'm sorry, Bear Valley and Memphis School of Preaching. That's ongoing, as a matter of fact. Foreign missionaries, we supported, this fund supported Colton and Sarvius Sneed over in Saipan for a year, and they are now back from there. And then you can read the rest of that slide, some of the other things we've been able to do. We really, those funds really put the Rocky Mountain Christian back into publication. That was Brent Carter up in Denver wanting to put his father's legacy, the Rocky Mountain Christian, back into business. And he needs subscribers. So if you could be a subscriber for $1 a month or $5 a month, that's all it is. And you will get the new Rocky Mountain Christian online. So again, some of the great things that were done with these special funds we have. And that's where the funds for House to House, Heart to Heart came from. And we have about 30 folks who have written in to say they would like Bible studies. So now that's from Colorado, so we're not exactly sure where they all are, but we're getting a lot of requests for Bible studies or Bible study materials as a result of that House to House, Heart to Heart publication. So again, I think it's been a pretty positive meeting. Would you agree? I mean, all trends are upward. Offering is up and deficits are down, so to speak. And this congregation has done some great things, particularly in light of the fact that we have congregations sadly closing their doors. And we thank and commend our great preachers. Our message today was just an amazing, another amazing sermon by Grady on puzzling passages. And I just think that we are a greatly blessed congregation. And I think you all would agree with that. If there are no questions on the phone, I am now going to lead us in a closing prayer. We thank you, everyone, for being online. And with that, would you all pray with me? Father, a moment ago I said we were so blessed in this congregation, and so we are, Father, to have our preachers, to have so many so committed to doing your work, Father, that there's nothing more important right now than this work that we do. What's more important, Father? Even our families are not as important, Father, as this family here. And, Father, the work we do for you, Lord, through your Son, Jesus Christ. We would ask that you heal our sick, watch after those who are grieving, and always watch after this congregation and our distant families. And, Lord, again, we thank you. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you. A closing note, and I don't want to end on a negative route. I'm sorry. On a negative note necessarily, but an email went out at 9 a.m. this morning at the beginning of Kevin's class, and Kevin may have announced it, that Roger Dunn passed from this earth yesterday. And God bless her. Donna's on this phone call right now. So Donna, our thoughts and prayers go out to you. And we also, of course, have had other losses this year. But we wanted to mention that you'd keep Donna in your prayers. Thank you all for being here today.